Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, my name is Josh, and in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the US Bank Triple Cash Rewards Business Credit Card. So I'll be going over the main features of this card, its pros as well as its drawbacks. So hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have a much better idea of whether or not this credit card is a good fit for you. But before we go ahead and dive into the main features of this card, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Plus, if you would like to receive up to $200 in free stock and a pinned comment below, I will be leaving a link to Robinhood. All you have to do is once you click on that link is just sign up for a free account and then simply link your bank account. You do not even have to make an opening deposit. At that point in time, Robinhood will be sending you one free stock worth all the way up to $200. Okay, so diving right into the main features of this card. First off, we're going to be discussing cashback and how much of it you can earn with this credit card. So starting out, you will be earning 5% cashback on prepaid hotels and car rentals when booked in the Travel Rewards Center with US Bank. Then you'll be earning 3% cashback at gas and EV charging stations, 3% cashback at office supply stores, 3% cashback on cell phone service providers, and then finally you'll also be earning 3% cash back at restaurants as well. And then on all other transactions outside of all those categories, you will be earning an unlimited 1% cash back. Now with this credit card, you can also earn a spend bonus as well. So that spend bonus is going to be $500 as long as you're able to spend at least $4,500 within the first 150 days from your account opening. So all in all, that is a pretty solid spend bonus. Now, as far as how you can redeem all of the cash back that you can earn with this credit card, you will have a few different ways of doing so. So you can redeem it for a statement credit to lower your overall balance. And then you can also deposit it straight into your US Bank checking, savings, or money market account. If you do not have a checking, savings, or money market account set up with US Bank, unfortunately, you will not have this option. So obviously that's going to be one of the drawbacks with this credit card. Now with this card, there are also going to be some other benefits of it as well. So starting out, just for an example, you are going to be receiving a $100 credit for recurring software subscription expenses such as FreshBooks or QuickBooks. Then on top of that, you're also going to be receiving a 0% introductory APR on both your purchases and balance transfers for the first 15 months of having this credit card. So for example, maybe you have a lot of larger transactions coming up, and maybe you don't have the cash set aside right now to pay for it, and maybe these transactions are something that you absolutely cannot put off for another day and something that you have to make, but you don't want to pay a lot of interest for not having the cash set aside right now. With this credit card, for the first 15 months, you are going to have a 0% interest rate, so it's going to give you an opportunity to make that transaction, and then over the first 15 months of having this card, slowly paying that down and then making sure that it is paid off in full, because after the 15 months are up, then of course at that point in time your interest rate is going to shoot up. So you'll definitely want to make sure that balance is paid off. We are going to be going over the interest rates in just a minute, but on top of that, of course, also you're going to have the 0% interest rate on balance transfers as well. So perhaps you have another business credit card out there where you have a very high interest rate right now, and every single month you're paying a lot of interest on a month-to-month basis. Well, one thing you could consider is transferring the balance from that card over to this card, and for the first 15 months with it, you are no longer going to be paying any interest. However, it's not going to be completely free though. There are going to be some fees associated with that balance transfer. And again, just like on the purchases, you'll definitely want to make sure that balance is paid off in full on your balance transfer before the 15 months in, because after the 15 months, your interest rate is going to shoot right back up again, and you're going to be right back at square one of paying all the interest on a month-to-month basis. So those are the main features of this card at this point in time. We are going to go ahead and dive into the APR and fees, because of course this is also super important as well. So starting out, like I just mentioned a moment ago, on both your purchases and balance transfers, you are going to have a 0% interest rate for your first 15 months. And once again, you'll want to make sure those balances are paid off in full before the 15 months end, because if you do not, you're going to be right back at square one, paying a lot of interest on a month-to-month basis, and that interest rate is going to shoot up to anywhere between 19.24 to 28.24% based on your credit worthiness. Then as far as cash advances go on this channel, we usually recommend to stay far away from cash advances. This, of course, should not be considered financial advice, just my own personal reasons. Usually with them, you have a very high interest rate, plus you have to pay some fees on top of that as well. But if you do decide to take out a cash advance with this card, just know that your APR on them is going to be a whopping 29.99% plus some fees on top of that as well, which we are going to go ahead and dive into right now. So as far as the fees go on your cash advance, you're going to have a fee of either $10 or 5% of the amount of each cash advance, whichever happens to be greater. So if you have a cash advance of, let's say, like $100, in that case, your fee is going to be $10 because $10 is greater than 5% of $100. Then as far as balance transfers go, even though you are going to have the 0% interest rate for the first 15 months, if you do perform a balance transfer, it's not going to be completely free. Your fee on your balance transfer is either going to be $5 or 3% of the amount of each balance transfer, whichever happens to be greater. So in most cases, more than likely, it is going to be 3%, which ends up being greater. Then as far as foreign transaction fees go, unfortunately with this credit card, there is going to be a foreign transaction fee of 3%. So if you do happen to travel abroad, if you travel outside of the country, this is a credit card you'll probably want to leave back at home and instead take another credit card, perhaps one that's a travel credit card, because travel credit cards typically do not have foreign transaction fees. Or you could take one by Capital One, because Capital One cards also do not typically have foreign transaction fees either. As far as other fees go, you're also going to have a fee for late or return payments. That fee is going to be up to $40. There's going to be a $40 over limit fee. Now, as far as late payment fees go, if you happen to pay late once, maybe even twice, you could always try calling into US Bank to see if they will waive that fee for a 1 or 2 time convenience. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. It definitely does not hurt to try. But in the future, or even right now, as a matter of fact, you might want to even go ahead and set up auto pay, mark your calendar, do whatever works best for you. Just make sure that you are paying on time. That way you can avoid that late payment fee. Then as far as annual fees go, with this credit card, there are no annual fees. That's a huge bonus because you do not have to sit around and consider every single year whether paying like $95 or something like that for this card would be worth it with the benefits you're getting back in return, because again, this credit card does not have an annual fee. So now that we went over the main features of this credit card as well as the APR and fees, at this point in time, we're going to go ahead and dive into what I would consider to be the best things about this credit card and the worst things about this credit card. So the biggest pros, starting out, it's going to be that $500 spend bonus as long as you're able to spend at least $4,500 within the first 150 days from your account opening. The second one is all the cash back that you can earn with this credit card. There's a lot of categories for that 3% cash back categories. That once again is going to be gas and EV charging stations, office supply stores, cell phone service providers, restaurants, and office supply stores. Then of course, there's no annual fee. That's a bonus as well. Then you're also going to have the 0% introductory APR on both your purchases and balance transfers. That's a pretty good pro there. And then finally, you're also going to have that $100 credit for recurring software subscriptions like QuickBooks and things like that. So obviously it's a pretty good bonus. Now, as far as the drawbacks go, starting out the fact that you do have the 3% foreign transaction fee. So if you do happen to travel outside the country, maybe you're doing business there, or maybe it's for leisure or whatever, this is a credit card you'll definitely want to leave back at home because you will not want to be hit with the 3% foreign transaction fee. And then of course, the other drawback, if I want to be super picky, is the fact that in all the categories outside the 5% cashback travel category and then all the 3% cashback categories, you're only going to be earning 1% cashback in all the other categories. So that's something you'll definitely want to consider. Maybe you'll want to have another credit card, one that earns maybe like 2% cashback to use in all those other categories. But just to sum things up here, all in all, I really can't complain too much about this credit card. All in all, it is a pretty solid credit card. You're going to be receiving a pretty solid $500 spend bonus with this credit card. There's a lot of categories for 3% cash back. And then there's also no annual fees, so you're not going to be paying a dime for it on a year-to-year basis. So all in all, pretty solid. One I would personally recommend, but at the end of the day, it's going to be up to you and your personal lifestyle. But that's all we have for today's review. I certainly hope that you enjoyed and found value out of it. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate it if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already, and I will see you in the next video.